What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. Alright, this story's called Thank You, Mr. Kilt. So I started reading this sub, and it brought back some events which I thought had long been buried in the dark recesses of my memory. I used to work and own an annual event several years ago, and we had just finished up for the year, and I was finally on the long drive home where a bed and several fuzzy blankets were waiting for me. After almost 5 days of herding cats and volunteers and putting up with the headaches that go with the insanity, I was happy, but drained, as well as slightly thirsty and wanting a small boost of energy. So I pull into a gas station to grab some drinks and snacks for the trip ahead. As I am walking in, I see a car parked outside with an Indiana license plate. This story takes place in Virginia, but I have family from Indiana, so it was an interesting side note. So the first thing I hear as I walk into the store is a Karen asking loudly where the dispenser is. I still don't know how she got 4 syllables out of the 3 letters that make up the word pop. At this point, let's introduce you to our cast. Karen, dressed as only a Karen can be. I think it was her first time leaving the Midwest. Store employee. Look of panic and bewilderment on his face, dressed in a red polo with the red company logo stitched on in black and black pants. Me, exhausted, slowly rebuilding the threads of sanity and decency that I had lost over the weekend, running on about 20% and slowly climbing. I'm wearing my usual clothing when I'm dealing with my event, so I'm wearing an employee blue polo with my event's name in red, as well as my lanyard from the event, and a brown Survivor Utilikilt. Hi to all who know me. As a note, I have 2 different badges attached to my lanyard. One was our event's generic staff badge, and the other was a badge identifying me as the owner of said event. I keep both to not draw too much attention to myself, as people react differently to a generic staffer than an owner. Anyway, back to the story at hand. So after listening to Karen's mangled attempt at the English language, I walk over to where they are talking. Ma'am, I don't know what you are asking for. Starting to look more panicked and terrified. I want to know where the pop dispenser is. The veins in her forehead are starting to show. Sorry to interrupt. I know that this store's layout isn't the best, but you can find the soda machine around the corner just past the restrooms. As I point in the general direction. Finally, someone who speaks English! And she stomps off. Me to the store employee. Never encountered someone from the Midwest, I see. Pop is their generic term for Coke. He looks relieved and scurries back to the register to assist some people waiting in line. I feel a bit better and continue on my shopping, and sanity and decency levels at 25%. Now, in a happy world, this would be the end of it, but we all know different. I'm now looking through the drink coolers and trying to decide what I want to keep me hydrated on the ride home. I had 2 bottles in my hand and saw another option which looked much better, so I decided to put the ones in my hand back. When Karen comes marching up to me with the storm clouds of an angry category Karen trailing in her wake. There is no upper 10 on the dispenser, and I don't see it anywhere. What kind of store is this anyways? And where is the cherry mash? That lazy boy up there didn't know what I was talking about. I look at her in disbelief. I'm sorry, what? That lazy son of a Burkaldarian just told me he didn't know what cherry mash was. He must be some kind of idiot. Now tell me where the cherry mash is. Sanity and decency levels 15% and dropping. I utter the magic words to Karen. Ma'am, I don't work here. Karen, looking like she's about to turn into the Hulk. Then why in Jesus' name did you help that lazy son of biodegradation earlier?
Why are you putting drinks back in the cooler?
Sanity and decency levels 5% and plummeting. She now takes her finger and starts jabbing my badge hanging from my chest.
I see that you're staff here.
She was using a very mocking tone for the word staff.
I'm the customer. You need to treat me right.
At this point, my sanity and decency levels skipped right past 0 at lubricious speeds, and I now lost it. I'm a large 6'1", 300+ pound person. For those who've met me know I try and be kind and easygoing in my day-to-day life, and I don't like to throw my weight around or try to intimidate anyone without cause. Karen has just succeeded in something that few have been able to do in the past, which is to get me to the point where I'm annoyed. I flip my badge over so that it shows owner, and straightening up and projecting myself at my full size, and in a voice which can get several hundred people to stop and listen.
Madam, I am an owner. You've caused enough of a headache to everyone in this store. Please apologize to them and leave.
And like a 6-year-old who knows they've been busted by the school principal and is awaiting their mother to come pick them up, she mutters a quick and meek, "Sorry," and bolts out of the store. I take a deep breath and deflate, grab my drinks, and head up to the counter. The poor store employee is looking at me like a deer in headlights. He rings me up and I pay and get ready to walk out of the store. As I get ready to leave, have a good day, sir. Thanks, you too. And cheer up, it only gets worse. Epilogue. A few months later, I'm traveling to a meeting for my event. I stop off at this same store to pick up some drinks. I'm in my kilt, but this time I have one of my t-shirts from my event on.
Holy bleep! It's Mr. Kill!
Really? Where? I want to get his autograph. Store manager then proceeds to tell me what happened after I left. It seems that it was only the second day that store employee was trusted with manning the store without someone else being there and was already nervous about it. Our adventure happened with less than an hour to go on his shift. It also turns out that the store manager had walked in behind me and watched the whole thing. Shortly after I left, he went to the back and made sure that he had the security footage saved, as he wanted to watch and laugh about it later. Next thing, he sees that there are now 2 squad cars sitting in his parking lot, and there are now 2 police officers talking to the store employee with Karen standing off to one side.
Is there a problem? Yes, Karen here claims that she was assaulted by your employee and the owner of the company. Officer, I'm not sure how that is possible, because the owner is at corporate up in Pennsylvania.
Don't lie, he showed me his badge and it said owner on it.
Store manager holding the name tag he was wearing.
Ma'am, well, did it look something like this?
Well, not exactly.
If you'd like to follow me, I'll be happy to show you the security footage.
Karen watching the footage of when I walked into the store.
There, that's him. That's the person who said he was the owner.
I highly doubt that he is the owner of this store. I agree.
What makes you so sure?
First off, he's walking in through the front of the store. Most employees will come in the back. Secondly, if you look at the logo on his shirt, it's for an event that happened last weekend. And finally, ma'am, he's wearing a kilt.
At this point, Officer 1 and store manager start chortling. She turns to Officer 2.
A what?
A kilt. It's a traditional Scottish garment.
They get to the point where she is poking me in the chest and my reaction.
Ma'am, as you can see on the tape, there was no assault on either store manager or Mr. Kilt's part, and filing a false report is a crime.
He turns to store manager.
From what we've seen, Karen has assaulted Mr. Kilt. Would you like to press charges on his behalf?
Karen then proceeds to spin a web of bullschnozzle. Store manager really doesn't want the hassle, and the officers let her go with a warning. Once they leave and store employee's replacement has arrived, store manager calls him back into his office and discusses the events. Store employee was relieved to know that he did nothing wrong. and that he wasn't gonna get fired over the event. He was then able to handle the job with ease and joked with his boss about having a Mr. Kilt day. Thanks for reading. Notes. 1. For those unaware, in the US there are several generic names for carbonated beverages, and depending on where you grew up is how you refer to it. As for why I was wearing a lanyard and badge in the first place, I was packing up and throwing stuff in my truck for the drive home and it was loose, so I placed it on my neck and forgot about it. 3. Utilikilts are one of the most wonderful garments one can own. Hey, I'm all for functionally comfortable and stylish clothing. That's why I'm all for the Hawaiian shirt. Keeps you cool, keeps you looking cool, and they're cool. A quote I like to use a lot on this channel is from Gata in that show Dave. The drip ain't on you, it's in you. That could be very inappropriate, I'm just realizing. But it ain't. Also, the best regional term for soft carbonated drinks is pop. Hands down, I'm sorry. Call me a Karen, but it's pop. This story's called, I Used to Work Here, but Not Anymore. So this is a story from 2014, when I was a leasing agent working at an apartment complex. First, some backstory. I happened to work where I lived, and while this may sound convenient, and I guess it wasn't when neighbors realized who I was. It was common for neighbors, one in particular, to knock on my door and demand I fix something or that I take care of something for them, anywhere from fixing their AC to lowering their rent. I'd explain that I'm just a leasing agent. I can't fix crap and have no authority whatsoever. And while I have endless stories of people's stupidity, I was rarely able to do anything other than smile and nod and kiss their feet. Ooh. Eventually, it came to pass that I stopped working there and just became a regular resident of that godforsaken place, which meant I no longer had to be nice. I gotta be honest. I was excited, freaking elated at the prospect of my dip-dookie neighbor knocking on my door late in the evening. I could not wait to tell her to go love herself. Sure enough, one day, about a month or so after I was done working there, I get an aggressive knock on the door and I was actually giddy, but also angry at the same time. I had 2 years worth of leasing agent aggression to get out. Anyway, here's how it went.
Excuse me, I put in a work order for my fridge about a month ago. It's making a noise and you need to fix it right now because I can't sleep with that terrible noise.
Me, joyous at the prospect of her setting herself up so perfectly. Is that so? Well, again, I cannot fix it. You'll have to call the office tomorrow. In the meantime, how can you hear the fridge over your own bull's soup?
Excuse me? I'll have you fired for speaking to me like that. How dare you, blah, 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 blah.
Good luck, jackass. I don't work there anymore. And for the 1000th time, when I'm not at the office, I can't do jack crap to help you because I'm just a goddamn leasing agent who doesn't fix crap, doesn't have the power to change your rent, and most importantly, doesn't give 2 craps about your fridge being loud when you are the one being obnoxious. So shut the front door and leave me alone!
Dumbass neighbor, red and flustered, she tried to cut me off, but I just got louder.
Well, I'm definitely calling your boss and having you fired. I can't believe this.
She stormed off upstairs. She lived above me, and I heard stomping around and slamming. Bear in mind, she'd been a total schlong to me every time she came over. The others who bothered me, at least, were nice when I explained to them why I couldn't help. She was always loud, obnoxious, and an absolute prick when she'd come to bug me. So anyway, I get a call from my old boss the next day, which was wonderful because at first she was like,
So I heard from
dumbass neighbor
that you used some inappropriate language and were rude to her? That's unacceptable.
She just busted out laughing. This neighbor was constantly causing ruckus, making complaints, being a schlong to all the staff, and my old boss was just happy for me, saying,
God, I'm jealous. You have no idea how much I want to do that to people, but we just have to freaking smile and take it. What was it like?
So, yeah, we had a laugh about it. That was a nice aftermath to that. And that lady moved out later that year, and I did the following year. I hope you enjoyed reading that as much as I enjoyed living it. And if you know of a good sub to share leasing agent stories, please let me know, because I've got some real doozies. For example, the time a resident asked me to take pictures of him for OkCupid. Thanks! Must have felt pretty good. I know for a fact that I'd love to cuss out some hotel guests. Some people are jerks, man. This story's called Karen Follows Me into the Men's Restroom. A few weeks ago, I was visiting my local big box bookstore looking for good clearance items before the store closed permanently. The dead mall it was attached to is being demolished. The store has no dress code, but the employees do wear lanyards, and I wasn't. So I was browsing around my preferred sci-fi section when I realized I needed to use the nearby restroom. So I headed in that direction, which happened to also be next to the mid-store customer service counter. Karen notices me, positions herself directly in front of me, and blocking my path to my urinary destination.
I don't know why you don't keep that desk staffed, but I really need your help finding my book. Are you gonna help me or not?
Not, I say, remembering the urgency of my business, and I step around her with a variation of, I don't work here, continuing to my destination, thinking that will be the end of the encounter. It's not to be. I hear her voice rising in pitch and volume on its way to full Karen Banshee as she literally follows me into the men's restroom, and I'm convinced she was about to grab my arm and pull me around to face her. Being conscious of social norms about public exposure, I made it into a stall and locked the door for privacy. That didn't stop her from knocking on the door and threatening to get me fired before she heard the really solid stream hit the water and, I'm convinced, realized for the first time what it was she had done. I heard her embarrassed sounding squeak huff, and she hightailed it out of there. I finished my thing and washed my hands and came out to witness her being escorted out of the store by a properly lanyarded employee. I only caught the tail end of the conversation where Karen stated she was never coming here again, and the employee had the classic response, "Neither am I. We're closing." I'm curious as to what universe following a person into the restroom to pester them is a good idea, because it's definitely not this one. I figured it out. It must be the same universe where that Karen's brain is, because it obviously isn't this one. Ha! Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.